I traveled to Pyongyang for the third time. We made progress on some issues. There's a lot of work to do. It may take some time to get where we need to go, but all of this will be taking place against the backdrop of continued enforcement of the existing sanctions. The North Koreans reaffirmed their commitment to denuclearize. We're making progress along the border to get the return of remains, a very important issue for those families. We think in the next couple of weeks we'll have the first remains returned. That's the commitment. So progress certainly being made there. Still a fair amount of work to do, but a very hopeful place that we find ourselves with making this strategic change for North Korea and giving them an opportunity for a brighter future for their people. Mr. President, I've turned to the trip to NATO when I was with you in Brussels. I've known this NATO issue since I was a young soldier. It's been a while. And this is the first time I have seen the leaders of NATO understand fully the responsibility they have to make sure that they spend the money they need to protect themselves from the threat from Russia. The President, as everyone knows, made clear this obligation. He made clear our continued commitment to support them, but also the need for appropriate burden sharing. And we saw real progress. I had my counterparts, foreign ministers and heads of state, say to me they take this obligation seriously. They understand President Trump's view of this and the fact that their continued increase in their defense spending will make their country safer and make NATO stronger. So I think a fantastic outcome from the day and a half that we all spent there, led by the President in Brussels. I then departed your trip and went to Mexico City, led a delegation along with Secretary Mnuchin, Secretary Nielsen, and Jared. We met with President Peña Nieto and the incoming President López Obrador. And again, there are many issues on our plate. We made clear to them that the migration issue must be resolved, that we need to have strong borders. We talked to them about trade, and there'll be more, I think, in the coming days to talk about the progress we're making on trying to resolve the issues on NAFTA. I'm very hopeful there. We talked about all the other issues between our two countries and really set the tone that followed the President's conversation with the President-elect just shortly after the ballots were counted in Mexico. It was really remarkable to see the Mexican government transition in a way that demonstrated democracy. No protests in the streets. It was a compliment both President Peña Nieto and President Obrador for conducting an election in the way that they did with respect. And then traveled to join the President in Helsinki. Had the chance to meet with my counterpart, Foreign Minister Lavrov, and the President's discussion with President Putin set the conditions where we can find overlapping space. Counterterrorism, the Russians on the treaties that they're in violation of, place where we can now begin to have important dialogues to put that relationship in a place where we reduce the risk to the United States from threats from Russia. So I think overall a very positive set of meetings we've had over the last 10 days, Mr. President.